When you're talking about finance, the first thing that comes mind is money. Finance is really important because we cannot. Maybe back in the day it was possible, but now it's not possible to have a life without being impacted by finance.
But you said back in the day it was possible.
Yeah,
Was it really?
maybe back in the days it was possible.
How?
I don't know.
So the illegit way, I guess, is what am I going to do to people so that they'll give me money? Maybe you have experience in that.
No, I'm experiencing
there.
that thing.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Breaking Boundaries, this new show. We are very excited about this new project. I'm Raoul, your host, and I'm with my friend Anthony, co-host. Uh, Hi.
Hi, everyone. Nice to start this journey with you. So today we are going to talk about finances and culture, a little bit of how finance affect culture and how culture affect finances, basically. So let's start with this question: what is finances to you? How will you define it?
Finance.
Yeah.
Hmm. I think that finance, when you're talking about finance, the first thing that comes mind is money.
Okay. Why?
Because most of the things that we do in finance turn around money, like you say, investment. The goal is to make more money. So we basically are uh, investing the money or creating a new company. Whatever we are doing, the end goal is to generate more money than what we had in the first place. So yeah. So when I'm thinking about finance, I'm thinking about money.
Hmm. Okay. And to you, what is the role of finance in one's life?
Oh, finance is really important because we cannot be back in the day it was possible, but now it's not possible to have a life without being impacted by finance.
But you said back in the day it was possible.
Now,
Was it really?
maybe back in the days it was possible. I'm
How?
talking. I don't know, but now for now it's not possible.
Hmm.
So I would say back in the days, um, maybe it was not finance, but uh, we people at that time were doing one sort of exchange. Yeah, they were doing exchange. So
Yeah.
maybe it was not about money. They were not exchanging money, but they were exchanging goods. So
Hmm.
yeah, so that also bring maybe add a more another variable to the final definition, adding the exchange side of it.
So there can't be finances without exchange.
Um, I don't think so.
Hmm.
Can you have a finance without exchange? I don't think so. Because you, in order for you to make money, at some point you need to, for example, you need to provide value in exchange for that money. So you need to give something in exchange of the money. Even though you want to steal the money, you need to risk your life in
Uh-huh.
exchange of the money. So I think that I think that you cannot have finance without one sort of exchange because that's the goal. If you are not exchanging, how are you going to get the money that you are looking for?
Hmm.
So yeah, and this is very. I think that it's the definition is pretty common around the world. I think, but we in different culture we can have like some differentiation, maybe on how we act or how we exchange. But at the end of the day, I think that human needs to exchange in order to grow.
Hmm.
So yeah, what do you think?
Think about what exactly?
about the do you think that we really need to exchange to in order to survive, or is it how important finance is in our society now?
Well, the basis of our current society is finances. You can't do much without money.
Yeah.
However, I will define finances as the, I would say, management of, let's say, monetary resources. Like, what do you do with your money?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's how I would define finance. And I would say, in my opinion, it's very important because, well, everything we do is tied to finances, one way or another. So you can't really do much without money, basically.
Yeah.
So knowing that how money is important in our society today, how should someone make money, in your opinion? Where do you start?
Uh, I think that there is a different way of having money or making money.
Yeah.
It can be legit or not legit.
But who crosses the line? How do you know it's legit?
Depends on the person who is interpreting the situation.
How?
Because something may seem legit to you, but it's not legit for another person.
So basically, something being legit or not is subjective.
Sometimes it's not supposed, but I mean, because us as human, you are not simple human creature.
Yeah.
So we have so many complexity. So that's why the definition of good and bad is sometimes a little bit difficult. It's hard to draw a line. That's why we have a law
Mm.
whose goal is to try to define like a standard for the society.
Yeah.
Because for me, doing something which is good for me and my family, my friend, for example, may be destructive for another person. So am I really doing something bad? Because if I'm not doing this, maybe my family will starve or something like that, you see. So that's why we have those rules in place to try to draw a line and say, okay, this is what we define as legal or illegal.
Mm. Okay, so let's get back to the question: how does one make money?
You can make money by
Let's say the legit way, or what you will call the legit way.
I think that you can make money by investing in yourself first. By investing in yourself, I mean education,
Mm.
because you can never go wrong by educating yourself. So uh, that's maybe for someone who is not. If someone is, if you already have some money, you can just invest it, right?
Mm.
Or you can work for someone.
But there are
Not
people
do.
with PhD who don't have much money,
Yeah.
especially here in Africa.
Yeah, what do you mean they don't have much money? Like the salary is not big enough, or
They are struggling financially.
yeah, yeah, I understand. And like I said, in order to have money, you need to exchange. So
Okay.
sometime, you are just in the wrong market with the
Mm.
skills and knowledge that you have. So the world is the market. So being in this country, uh, when you are exchanging your skills and the thing that you want to exchange, maybe you may end up having less money than someone who is in another country. Now, this is like at a basic way of thinking, because we are not taking into account inflation and cost of living, that type of stuff. So yeah, so maybe you can have like those PhD in Africa who are not making money because their skills are not valuable enough in this market. So we are not using them as they are supposed to be used. So that's why the market end up paying them less money.
Okay, so I feel like our discussion is quite abstract. Let's take a practical scenario, okay?
Hmm.
So let's say you are a typical 17 or 18 years old African with, let's say, a high school degree, but you don't come from money, right? But you are ambitious, you have dreams, you want to make it big. So if you were in that situation, what would you do? What would be the game plan? Where would you start?
Um, I would say now it's a good time, especially because we have internet, AI stuff. So
Mm,
the first thing I will do is trying to have a leverage, have something to exchange. Because if I want money, I need to create value. So
mm.
most of the time, that means that you need to educate yourself. You need to learn new skills so that you will be able to exchange those skills for money.
Okay, but how do you know which skill? We took the example of the PhD person who doesn't have money, but he's educated. He has for sure skills. So
Yeah.
how do you know what is the skill you should look for?
Yeah, that's why you need to take in account your market, the market where you are, or the market where you want to sell your skills.
Mm,
For example, if someone's trying to, I don't know, learning something very deep about space, I don't know, something, I don't know, space, for example, you are, let's say, in Africa, where that sector is not well developed.
so there's no space in Africa.
No. I'm talking about
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah. I'm just joking.
yeah, so there are a few companies in the world who can hire you. So
Yeah.
maybe you can try to call Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos to try to get something from them. But it's less, it's very unlikely for you to have a good job where you can exchange your skills for
Mm,
money in a country where the space industry is not developed. So I think that that's also why that's now it's a good time to be alive because we have internet. You are able to see online and trying to forecast the future
but what if you are in a country or in an economy where there's nothing, like a poor economy or country?
where there's nothing.
When I mean a poor country,
Okay,
yeah. Let's say a village here in
yeah.
Kenya, for example. Like, where do you start? Or
Uh,
even not
uh,
even a village. Let's say you come from a slum, so there's not much in your immediate environment.
yeah, but I think that even in the slum, you have an economy there.
Yeah.
So that means that, like I say, it's an exchange. So you can see and what can I do for people so that they will give me money.
Mm.
So you will see how you open your eyes around you. That's why I was talking about knowledge. So
Yeah.
you can identify something and learn how to do it and get pay in exchange of that skills.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I think that you need to take in account where you are, what you, which value can you provide to people in order to receive money in exchange. So they are going to be happy to give you their money.
Okay, so you said, what am I going to do for people so that they will give me money?
Yeah.
That's the legit way.
Yes.
Okay, so the illegit way, I guess, is what am I going to do to people so that they will give me money? Maybe you have experience in that.
I don't have experience
Yeah,
in that field.
okay,
Yeah.
so basically, it's about finding the value that you can provide to,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's finding the value you can provide to the market in
yeah.
order to receive something in exchange.
Mm,
So yeah. And like for example, in your case, you came from Cameroon, now you're in Kenya. I'm pretty sure that you are seeing some difference in terms of way people are thinking about money here compared to Cameroon? And do you think that there is a cultural aspect on it?
Well, let's start by defining culture. What do you mean when you say culture?
Um, I would say culture. How do I define culture? Most of the time, culture are the things that, as a person, define us. I would say,
Define us, the things that define us.
yeah,
Hmm.
where we are at. Yeah, the thing that we. Because someone will tell you my culture. This is my identity.
Hmm.
My
So
culture is my
basically, culture
identity.
is identity to you.
Yes, that's yeah. I'm not quite 100% sure because I don't also think that if you don't you are not attached to a culture, that means that you don't have an identity. So,
Hmm.
but I would say that most of the people who are attached to a culture who define the culture as their identity. So
Hmm.
most of the things that they are going to do, their religion, how they eat, how they do their weddings, how they behave, depend on that culture. So
Hmm.
it's like uh, it's like a guide on how they are supposed to live their life.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay. So this is to you what culture is. Now to come back to the question you were saying, how do I see?
yeah. Do you see any difference between here in Cameroon, for example, and the way how people are behaving in others when it comes to investment, how they manage the money?
Well, Africa is quite diverse. So there are, even in Cameroon, there are many subgroups, right?
Mhm.
But differences, I would say, yeah, there are some that I've seen. Like, for
Yeah.
example, in Cameroon, people have, um, how will I explain it? I would say people have strong feelings about money. Let's say that. By strong feelings, I mean that people have a lot of judgment. Some people, for example, believe that being focused on money is bad, like trying to make money is bad. Some people,
Mhm.
I don't know about Kenya, if people have such beliefs there, but there are some people who believe that being too focused on money makes you greedy and therefore bad, right?
Yeah.
But I've not seen so much of that belief here. Yeah, but there are also people who believe that money is great. So it depends. There are a lot of different groups of people who have different beliefs, whether it's here or in Cameroon. But there are some commonalities for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In the way that they are investing, the one who don't believe that money is bad, the way that they are, let's say, finding, trying to make money. Do you
yeah,
see any difference? And also, do you think that difference, like in Cameroon, for example, people are more going the legit or non-legit way versus Kenya, or what do you
yeah.
see?
Mm, I think you have a bit of both in both countries. Right? You have prisons in Kenya, you have prisons in Cameroon. So that tells you that
Yeah.
people try both ways. Yeah. So yeah, I think there are not. I don't see too many differences actually. Yeah. People try to hustle. What I would say the commonalities that I see mostly is that people are very. I don't think it's just commonality between Cameroon. I think it's even all over Africa. I don't know about outside, but I've noticed that people, they are very like focused on like tomorrow's money. They are very short
Short
term
term.
oriented. Yeah. Have you noticed too?
Yes, yes, and that makes me wondering. Do you think that is because of culture, or
I think it's just human nature because usually we feel like we always go for things that are going to reward us on the short term, whether it's watching a movie instead of learning a new skill, whether it's just eating unhealthy because we are going to feel good. So I think it's just part of human nature. is it human culture? I don't know, but I feel like we are always the natural instincts we have are always like short term, most of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in that way, do you don't besides that, like you say in Cameroon, in Kenya, you have different culture, but the way that they are behaving towards money is pretty the same.
It's similar, yeah.
Can we? Is it true to say that culture has an impact on how you behave with money?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Because culture is to me, culture is like a group personality, like the personality of a group, to simplify. So part of your personality is your relationship with money. That is
Yeah,
part of your relationship. For example, there are people who have a culture of saving, investing, and not spending. I'm not saying that is good, but there are people that is their culture. So they tend
yeah,
to work, but they don't spend, and they are always saving and investing. There are other people who their culture is to like be flashy and
mm,
party and dressing nice and um, just spending money basically, right?
yeah,
So if you are born in such a culture, well, you are more likely to be doing that whatever your culture is doing than if you are born in other culture. So yeah, definitely I think culture affects our relation. I think it affects everything, not only our relationship with money, but it affects how we see our relationship with other human beings, how we see uh, marriage, everything, how we
yeah,
eat, how we sleep, how we celebrate everything. So yeah, money is just part of
yeah.
everything that the culture includes.
Yeah, and like you say about the short-term mindset, I think that because you see that in the world we have, like you say in Africa, for example, people are most of the time focused on the short-term mind,
Mm.
and it's a human nature. But we have community or countries in the world where people, I would say most of the people or the most powerful people of that country, those country, uh, are beyond that thinking. They are more on the long term, and that's why they were able to build those countries.
Yeah, but you find these same people everywhere, even in poor countries, even in Africa.
Yes, but what do you think? That, because you say that in Africa, we
I'm saying most people
most people in Africa,
in I think in the world even, but yeah, don't
yeah.
you think?
Um, yes, in the world, but I don't think that is most people in other nation because um, I would just say, yeah, I would say that in other country, most developed country,
Yeah.
the number, like the proportion of the population who is thinking on the long term is higher than in Africa. The percentage.
Ah, I get what you
You
mean.
see what
Yeah,
I mean?
I think that can be enhanced by cultures because there are some cultures that makes you think long term.
Exactly.
Because even in Africa, if you look at if you go to a certain country and you look at tribes, for example, from the culture, you will see that some cultures tend to think long term than others. So yeah, I think culture can. It's true that usually it is human nature to be short sighted, but I think culture can definitely affect that for the better or for the worse.
But in African culture, what do you see? What are the things that you think you see make people think mostly on the short term?
I think poverty is a big one.
Poverty is part of the culture.
No, no, no. Oh, I thought you were saying what is in the environment
No,
that
I'm
makes
talking, yeah,
people.
about the culture.
Well, it's just so the question is what is in the culture that makes people be short?
Yeah,
Well, it depends. For example, some people have the culture of believing that you are as valuable or as your appearances. So if I believe that my value is tied to my appearance, I would tend to invest a lot on my appearance, how I look right now, rather than thinking about investing.
Mhm.
So there are some beliefs in cultures that I think might affect if you are short-sighted or not. I don't know if it answers your question, but
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. And I also think that sometimes you have like maybe religion can also
yeah,
push
definitely.
people to yeah, to think on the short term instead of the long term. And like you say, poverty, yeah, poverty is
But that one is
not,
not really a
yeah,
culture.
it's not part of the culture.
Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah. And also, I think that the one of the biggest problem that I see in Africa, for example, is the fact that people are really Africa looks united, but when you deep dive, you see that you realize that people are more like divide
Yeah.
because we are people are trying to find like to say my culture is different from yours, so this is why I'm different or I'm better than you. So
Mm.
we are people are more looking for instead of trying to unite, people are just trying to divide. So I think
Yeah.
that may be another reason why people may end up thinking only on the short term.
Okay, you said that Africa looks united. When you say look united, what do you mean?
Because when you are abroad, people think that Africa is a country.
Okay, so because of from the perspective of people,
Yes, and also from the mouth of African too, because African tend to say that community, family, those
yeah,
value are part of the African roots.
yeah,
So, but when you are you look in reality, it's not that. So
yeah.
people are not that united. People are not. They are, people are just faking it, the community part of it, because we
What do
are
you mean by faking it?
making it because we are going to be united. We are going to be a community when it comes time to celebration or maybe some yeah, celebration, happy or sad. People, you will see people come out. But
Mm,
let's say for example, you say, okay, let's get together and build something.
yeah.
It'll be harder to find people
Mm,
because everyone is thinking about its own interest. Say, why are you going to be in front of the project, not me? Why I'm more knowledgeable than you? So instead of looking like on the instead of looking with a like an association with association lenses,
yeah.
we are people will just trying to divide and say, no, I'm better off doing that myself because
Mm,
I'm better than you, or I'll wait, you will do it, I will copy. So this is also things that make people don't want to think on the long term. And also, I think that the people who are thinking on the long term now, I mean, the older community, they learn it. And we see that, like you said, through their culture, because culture is also something that can change. So back in the days, they were more greedy. And they saw that, okay, this is not bringing us something positive or valuable for the society. We are better off thinking on the long term, unite ourselves. Like you see, like can see that at a country level. You see Europe, for example, you can think that Europe is one country, but because they have like European Union. So this is another type of thinking on the long term, because you know that you say that, okay, guys, we probably gonna face the same problem. We are on the same geographic location. So let's unite and be strong together. So this is also a way of thinking on the long term, because it was not like that before they created. So I think that they learn it, and now they know that we're better off together than uh, right.
and why do you think it is such a big challenge here in Africa?
Great,
Mm,
yeah, great, because uh, when you, yeah, most of the time it's great. When if you have a table full of greedy people, you cannot do anything because every single person will try to think only about its own interest. Doesn't mean that to unite you need to forget your own interest because we are different. We have different situations, but we can think about a commonwealth,
Hmm.
they say, and that doesn't mean that you forget your interest. So I think that the big, I think the reason is great. Do you think something
And
else?
how do you think a a society can overcome that issue?
I think that society is most of the time people were always rule since the beginning of the world
Hmm.
that we know. So uh, big change were most of the time initiated by good leaders. So if the people are saying the people tend to copy what they are saying from the top. So in terms of policy and everything, like corruption, for example, this is another
Hmm.
form of greed. Doesn't mean that we don't have corruption in other country outside Africa, but the level of corruption that we have in Africa is mind blowing. So
Hmm.
that's people are watching their leader stealing, being greedy. That also that's the only image that they are having. So they are going to try to match that. And
So for you, the greediness issue comes from the top and trickles down to the bottom.
yeah, yeah, people I think that people who are like kids, they are copying what they are seeing. So also with policy, because if a country doesn't have value, like uh yeah, it doesn't have any value, people are
Hmm.
just going to behave like going to be the far west. So
Hmm. So, but who who's define? You said if a country doesn't have value, but who gives the value? Where does the
most of
value
the time
come
it was
from?
most of the time value are defined by the leadership of the country. Even that doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to say to choose the value, but they can initiate the conversation and say, okay, let's get together. We need to define how do we build this country together.
Hmm.
So most of the time, those conversations are initiated by the leaders of the country, the current leader or the leader who wants to take down current
So
leadership.
basically, it feels like the fate of a society or of a country is defined by luck because you said it comes from the leader. So if the leader is bad, the country is bad. If the leader
Yeah,
is good, the country is bad.
yeah. I mean, unless the people wake up and because are leaders because they are supposed to serve. Like the definition of minister is servant, right?
Yeah.
So they are supposed to serve the people. So
Mm-hmm.
they are hired by the people. That's why we have election and stuff.
Mm.
So if the leadership of a country is not good,
Yeah.
the people are supposed to change the leadership because they are the one who hire them.
Mm.
But now we we have a big part of luck because in many countries we can observe a sort of hijacking of the country by those leaders because they know that we control the power. They rule but with fear. So that all the democratic part of the equation is kind of removed because people are not people don't know, people don't feel like empowered. They don't feel that then they are able to change anything.
Mm.
But this is not how it's supposed to be. But we have a big luck factor because if you have a good leader, the good leader is supposed to put in place rules that will prevent the population, that will prevent any malicious action from a bad leader because you don't know uh, who's going to come after. And this is also something sad that you see with Africa. Even though when you have a good someone who seems to be a good leader, they are often trying to secure the seat forever
Mm,
instead of trying that. This is also about the long-term mindset, because if you are thinking on the long term as a leader of a country, yes, you secure your seat, but also think of about how the country will survive after you, because it's useless for you to come and create, build hospital and do, I don't know, many good things for the country if we don't have like a good system in place that will regulate and make sure that no one can come and delete everything that was done in the past.
mm.
It's not a success, because after you, someone will come and change everything.
But you said that the the leaders okay, the way you speak, it sounds like you don't believe there's democracy anywhere in Africa. Or do you believe
Uh,
in democracy?
what do you define by
Well,
democracy? The fact that we can choose a leader.
power of the people by the people.
Yes. Yeah. Are people really in power? Because if they were in power, I mean, I feel like it's like you have a power, but you don't know that you have it, or you don't know how to use it.
But according to what you said, you don't, because you said that the fate of the country is defined by the leader.
Yes, you don't know that you have it because the leader in place are making sure that you don't use your power.
Mm,
So that's why they are protecting their seats, because they are afraid of losing that.
mm,
So if they make sure that you as a people is fearful, but so they have nothing to fear.
mm. Okay, so basically they are afraid of losing their seats, so they make the people afraid of them.
Exactly, exactly. So that's why, like, most of the time when we are talking about dictatorship, like, what are they going to do? They are going to, if someone raise their voice, they will kill you or send you in jail. So
Mm,
trying to rule by example, so that create fears in people, and that fear is transmitted to generation, to kids after. So that's why you can see in some country you have like a leader who are there for 50 years. You don't
mm.
know what they are doing for the country, but not taking over. So yes, you can say that the population is also weak and also selfish, because the population will not wake up or stand up because they are afraid of losing their, maybe their life or the life of their kids. So
If you were part of such a population, will you stand up?
I don't know.
How do you mean you don't know?
I'm not part.
Are you really not part?
We'll see.
Why are you? Anyway, okay. So for you, okay, let's get back to money, right?
Yeah.
So how do you make money in an environment that is not friendly? Let's say you are born in a corrupt country or a poor economy, like, because there's a lot of people that feel like because they are born in the wrong family or in the wrong country or in the wrong neighborhood,
Mm.
they feel like their fate is set, like they are doomed, and
Yeah.
there's not much they can do. You think it's true?
It's not. I don't think that is 100% true, because I believe that as a human, on whatever you put your mind to, you will be able to achieve it.
But
So
how will you know?
how will you
Because
know?
yeah, because how will you know if you are not in their situation?
How will I know what?
Because for example, let's say I put you to South Sudan,
Yeah.
and I tell you that whatever you put your mind to, you are going to achieve. Are you really going to be able to believe and really? Are you really going to believe me?
Yeah, that's the thing. Are you going to believe?
Hmm. So for you, even if you are in the wrong environment, if you believe, you'll find a way.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not trying to. I don't know if it's an universal truth, but I can only speak from what I know
Okay.
and the people around me. But in every situation, that's why people are also praying God, and they're saying that if you have faith, you will get the result.
Hmm.
So uh, I think that if you if you want to, and I mean, I'm pretty sure that you're gonna ask me if you want to, if you put your mind on $1 billion, does that mean that you are going to get the $1 billion? I don't know, but I know that if you put your mind and say that okay, I need to be good enough in order to exchange my skills or knowledge for money,
Hmm.
you will achieve it. So I would say that if someone is in an environment who looks like very bad, it's gonna be hard, but you're not supposed to lose hope.
Hmm.
Yeah. You think that they are hopeless or
That there are some people that are hopeless.
yeah,
Well, to me, when you believe that you are hopeless, you are definitely hopeless.
exactly.
Because as long as if you know that, okay, I'm done, there's not much I can do. Even if there's something you can do, you won't be able to see it.
Exactly. Because you think that you are hopeless.
Yeah. However, I cannot prove to someone that just because you believe or just because you hope you will achieve something, you will achieve for sure. I can say that I had experiences, personal experiences, where I found a way to believe and I was able to achieve, but I can't prove to you. That's why it's called faith. You have
Yeah.
to somehow,
Experience it yourself.
yeah, yeah. So I can't say that by believing you are going to achieve something for sure, you are going to achieve it. But I can say that for sure, if you don't believe you are going to achieve it, there's no way you'll achieve
Yeah.
it. So either you believe and try to find a way, or you just give up, your choice.
Yeah.
But what else do you have to do anyway if you don't believe? How is not believing so much better than taking the risk of believing? So that's the
Yeah.
way I see it. So I cannot say that 100% I can guarantee that whoever believes in something is going to achieve it. But do you have better to do than believing and trying to achieve?
It's your best guess.
Yeah,
Believing is your best guess.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's your best bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, bet.
Yeah.
But do you think that what are African believing in?
Well, that's a wide question because I don't know all Africans to start.
Okay, so okay, we can say that Africa is struggling on many ways, right?
Yeah.
Uh, like we have like big poverty in some country, uh, different type of situation.
Yeah.
So, do you think that those people are poor and poor and poor and poor? Is it a belief issue or
Yeah, definitely. And not only belief, but belief, in my personal opinion, plays the biggest part
Mm,
on not just poverty, but everything. If I can, from my personal experience,
yeah,
yeah. Whatever, for example, in me, in my personal life, whatever I was struggling to do or to achieve or to be, when I try to dig deep, I see that there's some belief that I have that does not fit wherever I'm trying to go.
yeah,
For example, if I want, for example, let's say I want to um, become, let's say, a millionaire in dollars. That's a very simple. Yeah. Let's say that was my goal, right? If I believe that and I think that making money is hard, then making a lot of money is going to be a lot harder, right? So it's easier for me to get discouraged whenever I struggle because I believe it's maybe too hard for me.
Yeah.
Maybe if I believe that rich people are bad, well, it's going to be an obstacle on the journey.
Yeah.
So, personally, whatever goal or whatever ambition I ever had and struggled with, I noticed that there was a belief that I had that was opposite to whatever I was trying to achieve.
Mm.
Now, I cannot talk for everyone. I can just talk from my personal experience here. So, yeah, I believe most of the struggles we have, the root cause, sometimes, most of the cases, it doesn't look like it. Sometimes it looks like it's because of maybe this person, this government who is not managing the economy well, because of this country which is poor, because of the white people who colonized us, because of my family which is poor, because I don't have connections.
Mhm.
But if you for me personally, whenever I try to like explore what was going on in my mind, I always found, I always discovered that there was a belief that I had that was opposite to what I was trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, whenever I was able to truly transform that belief, it the journey became way smoother without after the
Instead
transformation.
of finding excuses.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
And this is also something that uh, many people are not aware of or educate about. The fact that uh, that type of mind trying to understand what you want to do and listen to yourself, listen to your belief, because sometimes you may have like belief that you are not even aware of.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
think most of them we are not aware of.
exactly. So you need to really deep dive, go deep inside yourself to really understand and know that okay, I want to do this, but this is contrary. Because if you talk to people, everyone is dreaming. If you see someone who is poor, everyone will tell you that I'm dreaming to become rich. At least
Yeah,
with the
not
mouth, they will say that. But the second part, they won't do it.
which is what is the second part?
I mean, the part that requires you from, okay, I want to be rich. What should I do, or which type of belief do I have that are contrary to the fact that I want to be rich? There's the thing that you were talking about that.
Yeah, but I think if you don't understand the importance of what is going on in your mind, you will not even wonder what is the belief, because for most of us it's just thoughts. So we mostly believe in what can I do to get what I want. We don't really focus on what is going on in our minds.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if you don't believe that if you don't know, or if you don't have the awareness that what is going on in your mind can affect your real life, you will not even try to dig inside of yourself.
Uh, where do you start?
If you just listen to your thoughts, you
How?
you learn. Just you know when you think of something, right?
Mm. Yeah.
So most of the times, for me, for example, if I want to do something, or to be something, or to go somewhere, there are some like almost thoughts that are not yours. Like you're not thinking them consciously, but they
Mm.
just come. And usually they are very strong. So if you try to explore why am I having this thought, you might find that, okay, it's because I actually believe this. And if you dig, you will see that maybe I took this from my father, or from my family, or from my friends or something. So let's say, for example, if I believe that I'm a stupid person, right? And I believe that to build a company, I need to be smart. Every time when I will try to build that company, I'll have thoughts that will come like, I'm not that smart, or I'm stupid, or why are you doing this, or you're so stupid. So, but sometimes, most of the time, we try to ignore these thoughts, but they are actually telling us a lot about our beliefs, what
Yeah.
we believe about ourselves and about our world. So I think it's not that complicated. It's just listen to your thoughts. You'll be surprised what you will learn. Yeah. What do you think?
Interesting. Yeah. I think that you need to listen and be aware because say most of the time because we are living in everyone is busy, everyone is running.
Yeah.
We are always yeah, everyone is running like a chicken without a head, sort of. And we don't
Including you.
yeah, me sometimes or most of the time, I don't know, maybe. So we don't really take the time to try to really understand what is going on, or let's say we are facing a failure for it.
Yeah.
So it's easier to say, okay, it's because of this person, for because of the government, because of that.
Yeah.
But we don't because it's not comfortable. Those type of discussion or those type of uh,
Introspection.
yeah, it's not easy. People don't human don't like those. It's not fun to be to accuse yourself.
Mm.
So it's easier to find an outside uh, reason or excuse to hide, maybe consciously or unconsciously. So that's why it's hard. I think it's hard for people to do that, to
Mm.
be aware and try to work on themselves and avoid finding.
Yeah, what you just said reminds me of what we were talking about. You said that it's easier to find to not look into ourselves for uncomfortable truth, right? It's easy for us to try to look away from uncomfortable truth about ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So that reminds me again of what we were discussing earlier, the fact that we tend to be short term minded. So
Yes.
on the short term, it's easy because if you try to focus on why am I stupid, it feels you feel small thinking about why
Yes.
you feel like you're stupid, right?
Mhm.
But so since it is easy on the long term, we try to just do whatever is easy on the long term. So it it reminds me again about that aspect of us where we try to focus on whatever is easy on the long term.
Yeah.
But most of the time, what is easy on the long term is not always beneficial over the long run or even easy on the long run. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Thinking on the long term is quite challenging because is a thing that they call delay gratification.
yeah,
So it's easier to gratify to have like a pleasure on the short term than delaying for a future you.
yeah,
So that's why, and it's really most of the time it's harder because you need to make those sacrifices instead to expect a better life tomorrow.
yeah,
So it's harder to do that than just eating now and just doing now
yeah,
because you let's say you have a food now and someone tell you don't eat now or he eat half of it and you eat the rest tonight.
mm,
It's easier for you to just eat it all and say because you're going to think, okay, what if someone steal it? What if so it's easier for you to to get gratified on the short term than the long
yeah,
term. Yeah.
yeah. So how would you advise one to try to tackle that issue? How do
Mm.
you deal with that issue personally?
Um, it's not like I'm always thinking on the long term. It happens to think on the short term too.
Yeah. So how do you manage it?
I think that for me, the more important is trying to be aware of when I'm thinking on the long term versus the short term and try
Mm,
to remind myself that no, yeah, you are just going to enjoy this now, but what after?
mm,
So I think that is be aware, like you said, because if you are aware of those situations, at least you are going to make a um, you are going to make a conscious decision at the moment
yeah.
because sometimes you are just taking the decision without even thinking about that aspect. And it's really important. So be aware. So you really choose, like, do I really want to do this now, or do I want to get this now, knowing that it can prevent me from getting something bigger in the future.
Mm.
And I don't also I don't think that it's an exact match, because let's say you cannot also like delay everything in your life, because you may die. So
Yeah.
so yeah, so that works on something, on some, and doesn't on others. So I think that's a balance. If
Mm.
you are able to find a balance, and yeah.
Mm. Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's quite of an interesting perspective. So I think that's going to be it for today, guys. So thank you for being with us. It was really gratifying to to take you through this discussion, and see you the next time. Bye.
Bye.